Tin soldiers and Nixon coming for dead in Ohio. Those were the days, wasn't it? When we could be shocked by 4 people being killed. So, if I remember right, you will be watching this around November 10th. But as I'm recording it just a little while ago, they found the body of the guy who killed the 20 people in Maine. If you can remember back to that mass murder, because who knows, there may have been a couple more between now and when you see this. But it was funny, not ha-ha funny. But I was talking to my sister yesterday, and she said, "Oh, did you see there was another shooting up in Maine?" And I said, "Yeah, I just seen that." And we talked for a couple of minutes about it, and I said, "Do you realize what you said?" And she said, "What's that?" I said, "There was another shooting." I said, a few years ago, it would have been, "Oh my God, did you see that some crazy person shot 20 people?" And we just aren't shocked about it anymore. I remember way back, God, I don't know, what was it, like 40 years ago or something, when somebody climbed up into a clock tower on the university campus and was sniping people. And that had the whole country shocked. And then there were those workplace killers that coined the phrase going postal. And then the first big school shooting that got everybody's attention was Columbine. I just remembered the name just now. I was going to say that one in Colorado. But now they just come so often that we just take it as a fact of life. Elementary schools have shooter drills, like we used to have fire drills. It just, I don't know, man. And, it's funny because when I decided to do this, I had a bunch of thoughts in my head, and now I can't remember a damn thing that I wanted to say. I know personally, the last shooting that affected me, that really, really got me, was Uvalde, Texas. I forget what the name of the school was. And I remember that one had me upset because they kept talking about all the kids being like 6 to 10 years old. And I just kept picturing those little kids. And I think part of it was my nephew next door, Toby, being that age. And of course, that's the one you'll remember where the cops stood outside. They didn't want to go in. Didn't want to risk themselves. Meanwhile, there's kids in there bleeding to death. Remember, they found that one little boy and girl laying there dead, holding each other's hands. But it just happens so often anymore. And I don't have answers. I'm not sure anybody has the answer, and I'm not sure we'll ever get the answer because you can't get the different sides of the equation to sit down and have an honest conversation. You know, you get the bought and paid for conservatives that take that NRA money, and anytime someone mentions, any kind of gun control, they say, "Oh, they want to take away all your guns." And I won't say nobody, but there aren't a lot of people on the left that seriously talk about just coming and taking all the guns. They talk about, background checks and that sort of thing. And the thing that I get a kick out of, I live in the Alabama section of Pennsylvania. And people around here are so nuts about, the Second Amendment. And, every time a Democrat comes along, they're always going to take the guns away. And, Obama was going to take all the guns. I'm still waiting for Clinton to take all the guns. And it never happens. They never propose anything like that. All that does is make the gun manufacturers happy because the price gets jacked up because they scare all these foolish rednecks and they run out to buy more guns before, the evil Democrats take them away. And, what I started to say there is what amuses me about it is I grew up in Pennsylvania in deer hunting territory. I went deer hunting when it first becomes legal at 12 years old. I was taught how to handle a gun safely. The main rules about the gun is you never point a loaded gun at anybody, and you always assume every gun is loaded. But, I'm not anti-gun. Boy, my mind's really bouncing today, sorry. But what I was going to say is, so right here in Pennsylvania, in gun-loving country, and these people get all excited about, they're going to come and take our guns away, anytime someone brings up gun control. And they don't even think they live with gun control. I can remember having to take a hunter safety course before I could get my first hunting license. You have to get a permit to carry a handgun, concealed permit. And you're not allowed to hunt with a semi-automatic. There's just all kind, there's certain kind of guns. I always get a kick up people who say they don't believe in gun control at all. And I always say that you're lying. Because I've never met anybody who does not believe in gun control. And then when they say, "Oh, I don't," it's like, well, do you believe that someone who spent 20 years in prison for a violent crime should be allowed to own a 50 caliber machine gun or a bazooka? If you say no to that, then you believe in gun control. Gun control doesn't mean getting rid of all the guns. It just means having some kind of reasonable... Anyway, and I'm wandering into territory I didn't mean to get into. What I was going to say, though, about solving the problem is, so you need the crazy NRA people, you need the crazy leftists, and you need reasonable, if you can find them, law enforcement people, and bring in like the social scientists and stuff. and put them all in a room and talk honestly together. Because something like this, there's never any one answer. It's not just that guns are available, and it's not just that kids grew up watching westerns or playing D&D or whatever you're going to blame it on. There's got to be different reasons. And there's got to be something intrinsically American about it, because when they'll blame things on like songs and movies and stuff, it's like Canada listens to all the same music and watches all the same TV shows and movies that we do, and you don't see them very often having a guy walk into a elementary school and just start shooting a bunch of kids for no good reason. Yeah, see, like I said, I thought I knew what I was going to talk about, and I don't know. This subject just makes my brain twirl. Not sure if I said anything at all that made any sense. Just basically, I'm upset by the idea that we are no longer upset. It's, how did this become a fact of life? If anybody has any answers, tell me. I don't know, guys. Yeah. I'll mention one other thing that I always remember with the mass shootings is, remember that guy who walked into that black church. I forget where that was now. Was it like in South Carolina or somewhere in the South? Georgia, I don't remember. I remember they called the church Mother Emanuel. And this is the guy, he went in and he joined them in one of their like Bible studies. He walked in, they invited him in and, gave him juice and cookies or whatever. And he was there for a little bit, and then he just decided to start killing the people. Was that, now I'm probably getting names mixed up. Was that Dylan Root? I don't know. Or was that the crazy kid that went across state lines to start shooting protesters? I don't know. But, if you remember, he was the guy, though, that when the police picked him up and they were taking him in and stopped to get him a cheeseburger or something, at McDonald's. But, but the thing I was going to say about it that I always remember, I forget how many people he killed. It was like 8 or a dozen or something. And I always remember the very next day on the news, there was people from the church who were relatives of the ones who were killed. It was like brothers, mothers, whatever. And they said, we forgive them. And, I got to admire that. I've often said about how so many Christians don't act very Christ-like, and that was a very Christian thing to do, but I don't know how they could do that, especially just like the day after or 2 days later. I know I would, if I could ever possibly forgive them, it would be years. But yeah, but basically what I wanted to say was I'm tired of all these shootings. I don't know what is wrong with people. And it's always, that's the thing too. So often it's strangers. They go into a school, they go into a restaurant or whatever. I mean, you can, it's a little more understandable. Not that anybody is saying it's right in any way, but, when it's like a domestic thing, you sort of, someone gets so crazy mad that they kill people they know. It's like, I don't know. But when you just go out shooting strangers, and then like this guy that I started off talking about in Maine, then he killed himself. It's like, why not just save everybody the trouble and start off with that? Just kill yourself. I don't know. Anyway, guys, if anybody's got any answers, let me know. Peace out.